Got it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode on the podcast. It's going to be really cool this episode, because it's a multi kind of podcast episode. So it's not just going to go on one podcast; it's going to go on two. So even better. So I'm going to do my intro, and then I'm going to give it to Aaron so he can do his podcast intro as well. So to anyone, welcome to this episode for my podcast. This will be like the last autumn special of this year. So it's gonna be really cool. We're gonna be speaking about our podcast, our experiences, about autism as well. And yeah, it's gonna be really cool. We have set questions for each other, so it's gonna be really cool. So Aaron, I'll let you do your intro.
All right. Well, welcome to the podcast. I tend to normally do record the intros ahead of the, when doing the editing of it, as I tend to delve straight in with the interviews. But I'll just introduce for your listeners about my podcast. So the podcast I host is called Autistically Ours Neurocast Pod, where I chat to different people who are neurodivergent. It started out in 2020, but I took a bit of a break, I guess, from like burnout, or like I guess just kind of like sometimes you don't know where you stop with an idea, but somehow like it ends up stopping, and then I thought, no, it's time to restart again. I want to do something productive and a bit fun to do, and I really enjoyed doing this podcast, as it's quite explorative for me to talk to other neurodivergent people about their stories. It's quite early on in the podcast. There's only quite several interviews up so far with mainly female and non-binary people, as myself as non-binary use they them pronouns. And we'll get got plenty of episodes that comes out only Sunday at 10 p.m. at the minute, and I'll be releasing episodes throughout Christmas and New Year with different people. I try to do it from like a inquisitive edge where I'll talk about to different people about different issues. Also, far touched on like mental health advocacy, different areas of work, where I talk to a PhD student about the research on autism, different like areas like non-binary identities and such like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I know one is chat set some questions to ask you about your story with Crohn's, and I also tend to chat about people's neurodivergent stories, and I know we'll do a bit of that review.
Definitely, it sounds like you got a really good podcast going. I like it that you took a break. I think I need one of them.
So, yeah, I guess like sometimes like you know like I was working on working at the time, but I guess sometimes you end up stopping with project. I guess it's because it was like doing in the middle of like the lock periods of in and out lockdowns in 2020. Then like sometimes the slump on your mental health, and sometimes you just stop doing something for no apparent reason that you can't think of. And then I thought, hey, it's the right time to start going with myself, as when you're in winter, like you don't really end up going outside to do like other stuff. So I thought we'd put something to spend my time with.
Yeah, yeah. I like. It seems we kind of started our podcast at similar times because I started mine in 2020 as well. So it was about when the first lockdown was. I started it, and it's been really fun. Like I guess I had more time as well. That back then when it was lockdowns and you was indoors a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, I know many people have started different projects throughout lockdown, and like different interests just to keep yourself going and keep yourself mentally occupied. And it's and stuff like this is quite good for like discovering stuff about yourself, as many people started to learn and discover stuff about themselves throughout the periods of lockdown in that year of 2020. So what was the main reason behind starting your podcast? What like led up to starting it?
Well, at first I had to figure out what podcast was, because at the time like I saw other people do podcasts like and stuff, and I thought, what is it? And then at the start, like I think what led to it was like um being being I guess not much to do. Like I wanted to do something, and doing a podcast, you can speak to different people. It didn't start that way. I kind of started talking about myself for for maybe a few episodes, and then I discovered, hang on a minute, I can there's a way I can hop on a call or something, and then I can speak to different people, not just from the UK, from other countries as well. So it kind of led on to that, and then I thought it was just going to be a lockdown kind of thing, like in 2020, but then um, it's still kind of here, still affecting people and stuff. So I thought I'll still do it now. It's and very interesting.
Yeah. As you said, you started by mainly like talking by yourself about yourself and your neurodivergent experiences. So what was the things that you started off by talking about?
I think I didn't actually speak about like my I guess being autistic straight away. I guess I talked about more my Crohn's side of things to start with, and then eventually I thought, hang on a minute, there's a good neurodiverse a neurodiverse community out there, as well as a Crohn's community. So it's good that I could kind of talk about both, and then get people about both eventually on. But actually, the first guest I did have was a person that works for it's like an organisation I'm part of that helps people with all, like it's about not just help people with like who are neurodiverse, but the focus of the episode was about autism really, and stuff like that. So it led on to that. I think, and I guess it's very nervous at the start because you speak to people you don't really know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's definitely quite nervous at the start. Yeah, as it was about by myself starting this whole project up. Like, I think for myself, I guess like I was listening to podcasts, and when I started to do something that like I can find a way of starting to tell my story or like learn from other people about being autistic and neurodivergent, as I think only like a few years ahead of the pandemic, I would say 2018 or some like year like that, where I started to learn about my autism and dyspraxia, stuff like that, and being neurodivergent through areas of social media. I was first diagnosed, I think, in 2010 when I was like 10 years old. And so when I was looking at that, then in my childhood, I don't think I understood fully what was what meant to be neurodivergent and autistic. And then I started to get the ball rolling of understanding that when I kind of creeped into adulthood. Yeah, and it was one of those things, as I say, like slightly nervous starting the idea of a podcast. But as you like yourself, it was like finding like an idea from like what you could talk about and get going with it. And I was anxious of starting with that.
Yeah, and I think even now, like I think it's got like I tend to talk about different topics as well. Um, like the main two, of course, would be maybe autism, Crohn's, but I put it out there. I like to speak to people about other things as well, like people's hobbies. I would like to talk about that because I think like we could have we could have autism, and we could have someone else, maybe like dyspraxia or Crohn's or stuff like that. But everyone has
Yeah.
hobbies. Like it's good. Just I always like to bring that up. Like even if someone likes dancing, I don't. It doesn't matter. I think it does. I think it's probably expanded since 2020 a lot.
Yeah, I guess like, well, autistic people, as you say, have the like focused interests and interests that relate to being autistic. It's like hyperfixations and certain areas where you're hyperly interested on something and can be like a fun conversation start and just something like light and fun, entertaining to start to talk to a guest on a podcast. and a great way of getting to know that person. And as I said, I guess your point of view is sort of like making sure your podcast sounds fun and entertaining for the listener, discussing your interests. And as I say, you probably like meet so many people by hosting your podcast with a whole variety of interests. And because, like, I heard, was listening to this book by Pete Romby, and that he explores his own focused interests on autistic experience of that, and so that's definitely a good thing to start from.
Yeah, yeah. So I was diagnosed with autism when I was 9, so about 2009. So a good while ago.
Yeah. Right. So how was it when you were diagnosed then? So, and how like did your autism show up when you was like age of 9, and what was like the signs and traits, and who like kind of picked up on that?
Well, the kind of the traits I did, I guess, when I was younger, you had those car carpets where you can like you have
Oh
to
yeah.
you have the carpets, and then like I had all these car sets, and I would always play with it. I would always put the cars in order or colours and stuff like that. And like the early 2000s is always remembered. Like people remember that carpet is always the same. But I guess it was that, and like with magnetics, where I did the same. Like it was always a colour thing, and where I would just put the colours, like if it was all reds or blues or greens, it couldn't be odd. You couldn't have a green and a red car or something like that. So I guess that's how it that way with sensory wise. But in like in myself, I guess it might be noticed that I was very shy. Especially like
Yeah.
sarcasm. I didn't really understand it when I was younger. I took offense to people. If they meant it by a joke, I'll get upset about it and stuff. So I guess that they were the signs that I have autism.
Yeah, as we're saying then, it's so like I guess some of the traits that were noticed by were like some of the like typical traits many people say of like what people envisage autism is. And I guess some of that, even though like sometimes, like 9 can be like you could have been diagnosed earlier, like when you was like a toddler or like, in infant school. I guess, when you were diagnosed, it helps, I guess, sometimes to show those typical signs. And I guess because sometimes people, if like your signs are less visibly typical traits of autism, it's then harder to pick up and diagnose. And I think for myself, I may be like stuff like struggles with anxiety. That's why I think for myself I was diagnosed when I did, because I I wonder when I like started puberty, which I started about when I was like 9, and like so I think I got like kind of like super anxious, and I kind of always been quite anxious person, diagnosed with general anxiety a year before, and I think it's some stuff like that. I guess was noticed. And like I think when I was in school, like starting with infant school, I used to like kind of like stood at the corner of the playground and so what to do with myself, or like how to get involved with other people, and never really like engaged much with like friends from outside the school, out of school hours and stuff like that. And I'm not sure, how to engage with other people sometimes, like they is like I think things like that,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
being a bit
starting
shy.
conversations, yeah, like that
Yeah,
kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and I guess, I found like even though like it was diagnosed when it did or like at 10 years old, and you were diagnosed at a certain age, and I think I still end up masking because, with the anxiety and not and noticing my own, like like trying to find a way of fitting in, as you said, with like issues of small talk. I think like sometimes can like get used to small talk as like it's like a way of kind of conversation, and like it's hard to extend that conversation more.
Definitely. And like when I was that age, I didn't really, I guess, accept that I have autism. I always thought it was a bad thing, like especially in school. Like like if people were doing maths, for example, and everyone knew what they're doing in the class, and I would kind of guess mask it about like needing the help when I did need the help, but I didn't ask because I don't know what other people would think of me if I didn't know, like maybe a simple question that could be to them, but to me it's like uh it's something I wouldn't get.
Yeah, well, yeah, for myself, it was like the case where I, like, for many years, so, like, it was only until I started sixth form or in middle for sixth form, I texted like a friend I was in school with, or like said to people through social media that I'm autistic and, with and dyspraxic. Never before said that with any person I was in school with, and like it's something that I kind of kept away and like was tried to say to anyone, because like I think like I was found a way off, like because of the anxiety, you kind of try to fit in like to the school, like and try to follow the rules.
Mm,
Sorry about that. Microphone accidentally tipped over. And as I was saying, like there was anxiety when I was like in school age. So I tried to fit in as much as I can and follow the school rules. That, and as I said, severely ended masking and can be quite lonely sometimes for autistic person at that age, because you have to know, even if you like come across another autistic person, like I know there was one at one point in the class, because I wasn't ever used to talking about being autistic. I never knew that how to start a conversation up about saying, "Hey, I'm autistic," and like be able to start a conversation on how I relate to people. And it's something that I think I referenced before in the podcast series, that something I've been taught about being autistic would have been such val valued in my school experience, like of being taught about what is autism, and like my peers were able to understand that a bit more.
yeah, yeah. It's hard, like to like I think especially if you get diagnosed young, you're not really. It comes like with how confident you are, I guess. Like you're not going to be confident like a 10-year-old or a 9 really, unless you're I don't know, you could be, but it's pretty rare if you are.
Uh, so when was the first time you like what did you ever find yourself masking that, or like when was like the first time where you started to comfortable to tell your peers, people in your social groups, that you're autistic, and kind of like say about your experiences and started to unmask?
I guess like in primary school, for example, there was
Yeah,
always there was always there was a good few that had autism or needed the help. Like there's always this place like you go in the class where like maybe you go with like a teacher, you sit with other people who need the help too. So I guess like I didn't really tell anyone because I guess I just figured people knew. And like as life went on, I I would go to places, maybe I would tell the teachers, or when I started maybe a new school or something, and stuff. But I guess I would have been where people may know of it, and stuff. But especially like like even though if people don't understand, I'll kind of find it hard to explain something because I just feel like they don't really care sometimes.
yeah. As you said, like like that, don't really care is like quite frustrating then, and yeah, that kind of makes you feel uncomfortable to open up. As you were saying, like I did end up having that extra bit of support and help, as I said, I'm dyspraxic, so like sometimes you have to go to like occupational therapy as a primary school age child. Then I did have to have like some lessons out of week just to like go to like psychiatrist, and like did have some extra help in school, like because I did have a support assistant in a compound just was able to access stuff like extra time on exams and like bigger seat resources or different stuff that may help with dyspraxia and stuff, other stuff. But
Yeah.
it never like said to anyone about being autistic, and I kind of never felt quite comfortable to like chat to somebody, like even like teacher. Is something that my mother like would have included and talked to teacher about, of course, but it would have been included like in an IEP and school information, but I wasn't never, like comfortable starting to say like like I need this for being help with my autism or dyspraxia. And I think it's because you never like see another person asking for help, or like somebody saying what help you need, and they kind of like showing a patience and understanding. And I think sometimes if like you're in a school with all it well it's centered about like the holistic experience school and like a neurotypical environment, then that can make it harder to know how to make that more friendly to your autistic self.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it's very hard to like speak about being autistic now, when you're younger. But I find more now, like you get more people. I see more people get diagnosed more later. Like it may be about maybe our age now or a bit older. But like I think in the 2000s, it was quite common that people were diagnosed, especially as males. Um,
Yeah,
it's because females are harder, isn't it? Like for them to get diagnosed with autism, but especially I found like a lot of people get diagnosed around my age or even younger in the early 2000s. But now like I can see so much more like more ages, which is great. Like I think it's
yeah.
really the support. Well, I guess not the support, but the people knowledge maybe of awareness of autism and acceptance is getting better than it has been, but there's still way to go with it.
As you were saying, there's that thing where, as you were saying early on, that like in terms of like lining up cars and putting things in order and the sequencing, I think as you're saying that you were kind of like sort well stereotypically, stereotype typical traits of autism that's quite typical and stuff that people pick up because like there's like that portrayed male experience, even though there's issues with autism being like pitted in a quite gendered way. But like there's an issue with like the diagnostic criteria and like the psychological model of autism being sold in quite a gendered way, as it was having a conversation with Victoria, I know you may know as actually Aspling on social
Mm,
media. We were talking about like as you were studying the diagnostic criteria, the issues that there is with like the male and female issues and seeing it quite gendered. And as said, because for like a long time there's been that male focus of it, and needs to be for future resources to be able to understand it, not just for male or female, but that like trans non-binary people. And yeah, I think it's like with the COVID pandemic and lockdowns, like I think a lot of people started discovering stuff about yourself as you have done with this podcast and starting this project. And I think for certain people, that's been like a time where they started to look into things and started noticing that they are autistic. And as you say, for women or non-binary people and certain people who masked and may not have fitted the stereotypical traits of autism in their childhood, have ended up masking like and created a bit of trauma and not being able to get that diagnosis earlier. So it's something that they make both start fighting on later in life and in university. As I said, it's good that it's starting to be plucked up now. But as I said, in the noughties, it was more a thing of who people saw as male people who might not be like identifying as male now, but like so the kind of typical dated male model of being autistic.
yeah, yeah, it's very important when like you say people are non-binary and they find themselves and stuff like that. Like it is important like it's good that you tell people as well, because it's important, because I guess it must be hard to tell people, but in case people do get offended if they say something different that offends them, it is important to just to tell them, like you have today. So it's good, because like it just helps them. But yeah, I guess it's very like you say, lots of people found themselves during the during lockdowns, especially.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's like something that, as I said, it's important to talk about these things and tell people as we're doing right now. But as I said, for like people in like an holistic environment where they go into places where you might not see autistic people, and like uh, people who might not be trained or understood to be autistic, that you might not be comfortable or feel like safe to say that you're autistic, or like getting a negative experience, as I heard of many people in the interviews I've recorded for this podcast, experience quite some negative discrimination against for being autistic, and the need of training and more awareness and acceptance about being autistic, even from like soft burgers, and even like people who said being in persistence of caring and supporting autistic people as they still struggle with people in healthcare and people who are nurses and stuff like that, from understanding what support autistic people needs. So as I say, the more you talk about it, the better it can be.
Yeah, I think it's like most things that you can talk about, because there's so much that you talk about with one topic, for example. Like there's so much that you can cover. Like for example, like if you're doing an episode about being autistic, there's so many different things you can talk about. You can talk about like who you are, like you're saying there, and there's other things like you can go into the depth of like the process, how it was discovered, and stuff like that, potentially. So yeah, there's lots of things that you talk about, and it's really good that you, like you say, you talk about these things, because we don't talk about these
Yeah.
things when no one knows really. So it's good. It's good that we do this.
As you're saying, it's good that we talk about these things. And so, for listeners of my own podcast, can you give some of the tasters of what certain conversations you have had on the podcast and different things you learned from people who talk about autism or even Crohn's and other disabilities from doing a podcast?
Yeah, I've learned quite a bit. Like I've had, like you speak about non-binary. I did a series in the summer about like the series was about autism and Doctor Who, because what I did was is because what made it was I had like a variety. Like you had some people who were autistic, and you also had some people who just like Doctor Who. But the part of that was because in I found only this last couple of years in the Doctor Who community, because that's really a big community. Um, Quite a lot do have autism, but some don't. So I got some people who don't to discover what they knew about autism. So like a lot of them heard of it, but some people didn't really know much about it. So kind of educate them, as well as talk about something they like as well. But part of that, they had a guest on there who was non-binary, and like it was very interesting, because we speak about it and stuff like that, like characters who could potentially be non-binary, or if they make that. We talk about autistic characters. Should they be autistic in a show, or should the actor not be autistic? Is it okay for an actor not to be autistic when acting an autistic person? And for me, I would much rather an autistic person act it, but I
Yeah,
understand. But it depends, I guess, like what the autistic character is doing. So if an autistic character is um not acting this person well, it can come across as an offence if a person is doing it and they don't have autistic and then autism. But yeah, that's really hard. So that I learned a few things there. Also, I learned lots about different people's journeys with autism and Crohn's as well. I've had a few people on about dyspraxia too.
yeah,
Um, which it's good. Like you learn lots, and I guess you make friends as well. Like um,
yeah.
I always tend to keep in contact sometimes with people who come on, because they do the great stuff. And you spoke about Vicky, actually Aspling. She's came on a good few times. Like thinking about the Doctor Who series, she came on that. She she spoke about it and stuff. And last year she was on, I think, for the first time, just speaking about her autism and stuff she does. But yeah, it's really good. It's really good. You do learn lots of things, I think.
Yeah, I gotta say that is quite interesting starting point to focus on certain specific focused interests as you've done with Doctor Who, and it's good way of getting people to come on and chat to you on a podcast. As you were saying, you chatted to people who were non-autistic, who were Doctor Who fans, and the way of understanding and raising awareness of autism in that community.
Yeah, I think it's great when you have people who are autistic, but I think it's always important to have people on who have no clue or they don't have it or stuff, because normally on a podcast you'll have people that have like maybe dyspraxia or autism, Crohn's, and I think it's good as well. Like if maybe for a friends, maybe a friend's kind of way, like if they have a friend of yours or someone on your podcast has a friend and they want to talk about it, like what it's like, it's very interesting to hear different points of views.
Yeah. And as you said, it kind of makes for like an easy experience to get people to listen and get people on the podcast. And, like it's can be quite, as you say, entertaining, and for an autistic person, and it gives you the opportunity to have people to info dump and give plenty of knowledge on that specific interest or hobby, as you're saying. So you were speaking a lot about different hobbies. So what are your hobbies of yourself?
My hobbies are well, I like Doctor Who. That's why I did the Doctor
Yeah,
Who series. But it was something different. I've like what the first time I've done that. I like football, so
yeah, I can tell that.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
very much enjoying the World Cup at the moment. Um,
What do you think is going to win?
who's gonna win? I'd like to say England. I've got hope.
Yeah,
But it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very hard. If they get through to semi-finals, I think they will. I think they got a good chance.
yeah,
Because it's very this year's World Cup is very like unpredictable. Everyone's winning. Like teams like all the top teams so far,
yeah,
except from England, have lost a game. So I'm hopeful. I want to, because it'd be nice for Christmas.
yeah.
Come home for Christmas.
Oh, yeah, I would have said Wales, but we all know, that's never happened.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
shame about Wales.
yeah,
I did want them to go through.
yeah. I said, hopefully, for England that they get through. And so, yeah, so you said football and Doctor Who is some of your interests. Do you have any other focused interests?
Um, they are the main two. I like any sport really, except from cricket. I don't really like cricket.
Yeah,
I like any sport. I I do like gaming actually. I enjoy gaming. I game quite a bit. Um, I like to game like FIFA. Like I'd say my FIFA team's pretty good at the moment. I like action. I like playing action games. I do have a VR, but the only thing about the VR is that it's very wired on my console. So I do want to get one that's potentially that has as many wires as it does. But I do like it. Like there was actually a Doctor Who game on there, which spoke to a few people actually about. Like Lego games are really good. Like I guess for places like Doctor Who, and I think they need to bring one out, or like, because there's a new Hogwarts Legacy game, I think, coming out early 2023. And I want a Doctor Who game to be like
yeah.
that.
I suppose there's like more funding going into Doctor Who, so, and there's like more works on like a follow-up series. So who knows, there might be something like that.
Hopefully,
Yeah, yeah. As you say, man, it seems like you got good few, focused interests.
yeah.
And like as you said, like you would have asked that about myself. So if you want me to
Yeah,
explain
yeah,
some of my own,
yeah. Well, please do.
Yeah, I always been quite like a passionate music listener. He's got like over 100 vinyl records and all continuously collecting some, and tend to listen to like stuff like either like from dance, pop, jazz to, you know, indie and alternative stuff. So do like a wide variety of music and listening to stuff like on the radio. But like one thing that I found as well that helped me for the pandemic, and one thing I really enjoyed doing in sixth form is doing art. And like I never been exactly the best at doing portraits, but at least found for the pandemic I've been able to like have the time just to like, you know, do something for like a bit fun and just like relaxing and calming and therapeutic. I started, you know, like sketching and stuff and working on it.
Hmm. I think that is good. Like you like to do art and stuff because
Yeah.
it takes concentration.
Yeah, I'll say it does take concentration, but it's just like something just like just put like nice and relaxing to do, and just like so like I would pick up a pink pencil, just like just start sketching and working to develop that skill, you know.
Yeah, it is. I remember in school I did an art exam. It took 2 days. It did. I'm not the best at art. Like I haven't drawn in ages, um, but I drew. I think I was painting something, and it took 2 days. I couldn't be. It's quiet. You have to be so quiet. You can't speak. Can't even breathe. And I thought it did quick. Well, I did pass the art, but yeah, very concentration it takes.
Yeah, it does take a
Yeah.
lot of concentration, I found like at least when I was doing it for fun, you know, like all you know, like just doing it as personal hobby, you know, like you know, see, it does take that patience, but you know, you just like not too much of a worry to like get like it and get perfect, and
Mm,
just gonna enjoy it for what it is, and then just like sketching and stuff, and you know, like maybe nothing, you know, like would come from it too much, but just having a time just to do something quite relaxing and therapeutic. As I say, probably like you know when you're playing FIFA, you know you're not always playing you're not always gonna be like have a good or 100% of the time having a great game, but you know you just enjoy it because you know it's quite relaxing and therapeutic.
yeah, yeah. I would say it's relaxing sometimes when you win it, though.
Yeah,
I think it's like anything. I remember when I was younger, I would collect the Doctor Who figures that they were out, and I would always, I think part of my autism, I would just pretend they're in the actually Doctor Who, like playing with them and stuff, like they're actually in the show, and like yeah, Dalek, like I've got a Dalek here actually, right here,
yeah.
and
Mm,
um, but yeah, it's nice when you get something that you like to do because it's hard, to do stuff you like to do,
yeah.
but it's good that you like. Do you draw like when you do art? Do you just do stuff that you like? Like it might be like something that you're doing, or is that what you like, or do you just kind of draw, paint, anything?
Well, yeah, kind of been different stuff. Like previously done like stuff like albums, certain artwork, like famous like yeah album covers, and done like stuff like even like the view out to my like bedroom or dining room windows to like kind of just go with any type of landscape to like you know like illustrating famous people, different neurodivergent people to other like people from different politicians to like any type of thing really that I
Mm.
sometimes think of. And like even like through like the pandemic, I was seeing if I like could try to do like anything in space and on like reflecting the pandemic and that type thing. So it can be quite random, you know, just different stuff. And I
Yeah,
was yeah, and I was just thinking, like, I guess with your own interest of like Doctor Who, like more imaginative stuff, you know, and like I guess gives you that escapism from like some of the world, you know, like and it can kind of like it's like a nice escapism, I assume.
definitely. Yeah, like in my spare time, I do like cosplay, like where you can dress up as like characters and that.
Yeah.
And I have my go-to one would be like David Tennant, like the 10th Doctor. But I do have lots of others that I like to do, like in the show, like lots of different characters. And like the autism, Doctor Who's a big community, but it's it's very opinion based. So that like it's saying, as soon as a new person gets cast in the show, like everyone has said, oh no, it can't. They're not gonna be good. They're not gonna be good, and I don't like that. Like
Yeah.
like for me, it's not just Doctor Who. Any show, any good show that I'd like, I would wait till I see them, and I'd judge for myself if I like them or not. If not,
Yeah.
it's fine. I wouldn't post it on. Like I wouldn't like spread the word saying he's rubbish. He's like that they're not good. Like they're not gonna like everyone.
Yeah.
Like some people are gonna think, am I not like who I like? It's just opinions.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's enjoying it for what the storyline is and what's in it. It's for the storyline and see what happens to the characters and where this plot goes. And so I guess we're judging more from the plot of the actual program. And I
Mm.
think it does make a sense of like finding enjoyment in like something very escapist like Doctor Who, because as you were saying, you end up doing a cosplay. I think, as you were saying earlier, social interactions like small talk can be quite challenging, and guess engaging like conversation like small talk on like people's lives, or like general, like broad, like interests, like sometimes that can be quite difficult to relate to. But I guess when you can make friends for the interest of, like, as you say, Doctor Who, then like can give you that kind of good community, like, and good way socializing, and kind of makes you feel like you got that place, and like you got somewhere where you feel a bit more together, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, like I do it's really cool because earlier this year I went to Wales and I went to visit some Doctor Who locations. That's kind of new, I guess, focus interest, shall we say?
Yeah.
Upon that, like I would go to the different locations that I have my own book, so you see, like I was only a couple of days, so I'm going to be going back next year, maybe spend more time, and more, I guess, more like a week. Because I was only there about 2 or 3 days, so it's all, unless I get I kind of a rush. But I went there and it's really cool because everywhere I went, even though some places maybe filmed like 10 years ago, um, I would go to like a place and I would ask them, was Doctor Who filmed here? And they said, yeah, they tell me all about it. It's almost like you go there for information as well. So it's really cool. The only thing is that I live about maybe 5-6 hours away, so it's a while for me. But
Yeah.
I go because I know I'm gonna go to the actual places. I'm not gonna go because there's so many in Wales, so you can spend all day at a place, but like you don't want to because you want to go to more and more.
It's really filmed there, like a bit a scene from an episode when Peter Capaldi was Doctor Who down the beach where I am, because I'm in Wales anyway. So I guess there would be like some locations nearby, because like not 100% far more near like Swansea way, but not 100% far, not far out from Cardiff and all that, where they film.
Yeah.
Sometimes end up down Cardiff Bay, and I guess we've got plenty of nice locations to see, or
Mm.
from where they filmed the show, and I guess you find nice places to go to around it, like different like restaurants, or like seeing like the countryside, the nice coast of Wales.
Yeah, it's good. Like it's not just I guess it like going if you like the location, it's a plus if it's a Doctor Who location. But sometimes it's just nice. Like you
Yeah.
have like you say Cardiff Bay, quite a lot was filmed there. Like Torchwood, like the Doctor Who split show as well. So like Swansea and Cardiff are the main two. Like there, I didn't get the chance to go to Swansea when I was there. I was just in Cardiff, but like because the late Bernard Cribbins who passed
Yeah.
like this year. he did, like, in his last story with David Tennant in his I think series 4. He does, like, the cafe he was in it's in Wales, so that's one definitely on my list to go to next year. But it's really cool because I guess my favourite I went to these gardens that had numerous Doctor Who locations in, and I could spend all day there. But the annoying thing was I spent a long time there, spent 3-4 hours there, and then I went to one of the beaches that was filmed Doctor Who, but unfortunately the tide was in, so I couldn't go on it. So I'm going to have to go back to that next year, maybe at a time when the tide isn't in. But
Yeah.
it's great. It's great fun. Like when you go, because I went to a cathedral actually. I wasn't in Cardiff. It was halfway. And what happened was I was in this cathedral, and it was an episode where David Tennant was in, and he was playing his piano, and
Yeah.
I knew it was in this exact cathedral. And then the guy who was working there, like a priest, saw I was wearing my Doctor Who top, and he said, "Oh, you like Doctor Who?" Like, he said Doctor Who was filmed here, and I said, "I know, that's why I'm here." And then I I said I think he said, I can take you up to the top where he sat if you want. But and I waited maybe an hour or so because he said we could do it when everyone's gone. So I did that. But it was really cool that he actually let me, because I think I was like the
Yeah.
second person to be able to sit in that because they don't really allow the public to do that. So it's really nice, especially if you're going from a long way.
Yeah.
Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that would be something like big to see and quite cool, I guess, for yourself. Yeah, and nice guests, and make some like holidays and like trips around your focused interests.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. Like, speaking about art, I see a picture behind you.
Yeah.
Did you paint that by any
Oh,
chance?
yeah, like I'm still working on it. Yeah, I'm still painting that. Yeah, it's just like something I thought. It started off like just like something bit random, like because I like spent bit of MDF board and would like you like put it on display in the garden somewhere, you know. But like, yeah, I just started randomly doing it, and it's put like kind of put like a doodle painted, as you can see, you know, like it's a bit random.
Yes, it's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as you were been talking quite a lot about the hobbies and focused interests of both of ourselves, and so like going back to some of the themes that we wanted to discuss in the podcast, and as you were saying about Crohn's, and this is something that I wanted to ask you about, like to tell you about your experience of Crohn's and how that affects you and different things around it, because it's something I haven't been able to talk yet on a podcast, and I think it'd be a great opportunity to raise some awareness of.
Yeah, I'm more happy to speak about it. So actually, it's quite cool. But as we record this, it is Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Week. So this week I spend quite a lot of time, like, just speaking about it, speaking about things that maybe not spoken about enough. So I was diagnosed when I was 16, 17, and that had been in 2017. So had Crohn's about 5 years, and it's an illness. So different to autism, where autism isn't an illness, where Crohn's is an illness. I always like to make sure that when I speak about these things, about
Yeah,
autism and Crohn's on the podcast, that just to be aware that people know that they're totally different things, but they do have similar things as such, which I'll get to in a minute. But like, yeah, so what Crohn's is, it's it's an illness that quite a lot of people have. And when I was diagnosed, I didn't know anyone that had it. I didn't know what it was myself. So what happened during the process of maybe diagnosis was I lost a tremendous amount of weight. And it was really, I guess, worrying. And I got diagnosed in the October time, but throughout that year of 2017, I noticed how, like, maybe others in family maybe noticed how much I lost weight and stuff like that. And I went go-karting for my birthday. My birthday is in September, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the go-karting, and I came second place. And then not long after that, it was one of my friends' birthday too, because their birthday's in mid-October time. And when I went to that, I was in a tremendous amount of pain. So the pain was like, within Crohn's, you can get pain, not very nice pain. So the pain, how I could describe it, it felt what it felt like to me. It's called a flare. So a flare is where so basically what Crohn's is where your insides are attacking yourself. So like it's inflamed. So like it's really really red inside.
Yeah.
And everyone has different Crohn's. So we could have similar experiences, but everyone's journey is different. No one is the same. That pain, what it felt like was my stomach area was like a stabbing, burny sensation feeling that was kind of like it weren't stopping. And I went to my friend's birthday where I was very much in pain, but I didn't want to let them down. So at this stage, when I was diagnosed, I was in year 11 at school, so exam kind of season and stuff. At this point, I was at a school that specialised with people with autism and different abilities and stuff like that. So they were pretty understanding, even though I didn't know what was going on myself. And yeah, so within Crohn's, I have to take medication to kind of help that. So as soon as that happened, I was straight on steroids, and then I had to get diagnosed. I had a colonoscopy. So what that is, if people don't know what that is, it is basically where it's kind of an X-ray, but they put a tube down your throat like a camera, and then one up your back passage, but not at the same time. That would be very difficult. So you can get sedated for it, or you can have a gas in air, which is supposed to be called laughing gas, but I've had laughing gas. It doesn't make me laugh. So I dread to think why they call it laughing gas. And it kind of, with the laughing gas, it makes you feel, I guess, pretty high and drunk feeling, and which is why I had that last year. I had a sigmoidoscopy last year, which is basically just the tube up your back passage. It's not the throat bit.
Yeah.
Which the throat one is like down your throat is very uncomfortable, and you have to swallow. So you have to swallow to that tube to get down. If you don't swallow, then there might be a few problems going on. But when I had that colonoscopy when I was diagnosed, that is how I got diagnosed with Crohn's. And it was funny in a way because I heard, even though I was sedated, I did hear someone say the word Crohn's, and as soon as I go out, I say I've got Crohn's. I don't know what it is, but I've got Crohn's, and then there we go. I do get diagnosed with Crohn's, which I get handed a leaflet, look it up when I go home, which I shouldn't have done, because quite a lot of people with Crohn's do get surgery in their life. So if you're diagnosed pretty young, which I class, well, I was pretty young getting diagnosed. It's very hard to get diagnosed, like autism in ways. Like people find it hard to get an autism diagnosis. People find it hard to get a Crohn's diagnosis as well. So I was pretty fortunate. It didn't take me long. It took me about maybe 6 months potentially to get my diagnosis. And at the moment, to handle with my Crohn's and stuff, I take biologics, which dampen my immune system. So what that means is, like, I don't really have much of it. I have an immune system, but very little. So I take azathioprine, which I've taken ever since I was diagnosed. I take injections every 2 weeks, which is a biologic. I wasn't on infusions where I'd go to the hospital, but that stopped working after a year. So these are really dampening. Like, people with cancer patients take these kind of drugs as well. So it's hard, especially now, because, you know, like, with people kind of get on with their lives, I guess, more now. So when there's no rules in place for pandemic and COVID, it's like still there and stuff. So it's hard to I guess do things more, and that was one of the reasons I did decide to create the podcast, because I thought essentially like, not many people are going to be doing much. It's going to be harder to see people, but actually in that stage where everyone was locked in, that was the best chance for me to get out, because no one was there and stuff. But yeah, I take that. I take vitamin D because there are symptoms with Crohn's that you can get. So fatigue is one of them for me. I did a autism talk on Saturday just gone, and as soon as I went home, I was asleep. I was shattered. I was like fatigue for a person with a chronic illness. It's very, very different to a fatigue that a person gets who doesn't have Crohn's as such, or like a chronic illness, um, or like anything to do with that.
Yeah.
So what it is, it's almost like you haven't slept for days when you have, but it's almost like you wake up and you're tired sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I take vitamin D. So I take vitamin D every night, so that kind of helps with. It's supposed to help with your fatigue and stuff. So like just to summary what it is, it's basically Crohn's is a condition where it attacks itself in the bowel. Like Crohn's can be affected from your eyes all the way down to your bum. So if it can affect anywhere, it's I say my stomach because it's affected me. And your mouth as well. It can affect so much. And you have to, you're prone to catching other things too, as part of that. So you might like a lot of people like with autism, I
Yeah.
found that you don't just have autism, you have someone else. It may be Crohn's, like maybe in your case, dyspraxia. Like,
Yeah.
I found a lot of people like have heard that, but I've only ever known maybe 3, 4 people to have both Crohn's and autism. So that very rare you find both, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what Crohn's is, and yeah, like I say, everyone's different. Everyone has their own journey, but yeah, as well as like autism having a good community, big community like that, Crohn's and what it falls into like IBD, like inflammatory bowel disease. So you have colitis as well. So some people have Crohn's and some people have ulcerative colitis. Some people can have both. I think I do have a bit of both. So the ulcerative colitis only kind of it affects like the colon, like
Yeah.
it inflamed colon, and a lot of people do actually get stoma bags for IB inflammatory bowel disease, which I don't have one, but I haven't had surgery actually either with having Crohn's, but a lot of people do have. Those are the two common things that you'll find in like the community that people do, and it's really good with raising awareness. It's awesome, but like autism, there's still so much to do
Yeah.
with understanding because people don't understand really much.
As I said, like from what you said, like it can expose like some of my lack of understanding, and that's why I think it was important to have you on the podcast to talk about this. As I think with this podcast, it's good because I can learn a bit more. As you're saying there about like Crohn's effects from, as I said, like from every could be like eye length down to the bottom of your body, because from what people would think about Crohn's is like it would only affect one area. That's at least what I can thought before. And then as I say, it can affect your whole body, and that's something that not many people understand. And as you're saying about Crohn's, as you said, it's chronic illness, and with all chronic illnesses, it can affect your fatigue, your energy, and your ability to do stuff on certain days and stuff like that. And as I said, it makes it a bit more tired. And I guess with autistic burnout and autistic fatigue of like essentially all the very social days and busy days, then like I guess the two kind of fatigues kind of merge into one, and then it can be quite challenging. And with like so many different people having different current conditions, I'll try when I talk about conditions beyond or neurodivergent on you and like wider disability or something. That's why I thought it would be great to chat to you about this.
Yeah, I think it's really good. It's important to speak about these kind of things because, like you say, like you didn't know often a lot about it, so you've learned something, I guess, today.
Yeah, I say I think like for me, you the word Crohn's and like don't know exactly much of it, and I think as you say, like there's awareness growing of it, but as I say, there's that thing. I think there's less understanding of it than there is with autism.
Yes, yes. It's hard. I like when if I do stuff, I try to even out. Like if like on the podcast, I'll have some people with autism, some people with Crohn's. Some people ulcerative colitis as well, IBD, and I've had other people with other chronic illnesses as well, because I think it's interesting to hear about others, because I know of Crohn's because I have it, but I always like to hear maybe about other people who have different chronic illnesses, because some
Yeah.
people do have lots. Some people can have more than one, and I had a person on here on my podcast had I think 35, 36 different chronic illnesses.
Oh,
So
well.
that was I didn't think that was possible, but it is, and like I
Yeah.
guess in a way I'm fortunate I only have one, but one is bad enough, I think,
Yeah.
and it's hard. Like you like you say, like people don't think it's more like affects it doesn't it doesn't just affect one thing, it can affect lots, and the main kind of, I guess, stigma with it is that people think it's a food condition where you got to eat the right food and you got to go on
Yeah.
a diet, which is not. Like, I know people that can't eat vegetables, and people say you should eat vegetables and fruit because they're healthy for you, but it's not the case. Like, and as well, people think it's a toilet-based condition as well, where you have to use the toilet, which it does. Don't get me wrong, that it can, like, you can need a toilet a lot, and stuff, but it's not just about these two things. Like, these two things are part of it, but there's so much on top of it.
Yeah. As you're saying, there's a lot of probably like wrong facts and wrong things that people projected on you, like the people saying the wrong advice and promoting stuff that wouldn't help a person with Crohn's. As you say, there's certain things that come out about certain diets and trying to put some certain products or like remedies to help with Crohn's that that wouldn't help at all. And as you're saying, it was good that you was able to get diagnosed while you were young, and while you were, like in a fast, kind of quick period, because as you're saying, like with autism, there's that eating less, and it can be quite struggle again to a diagnostic process, especially if you don't have understanding medical professional.
It was it wasn't easy to get diagnosed though, because with it was had to get pushed to get appointments and stuff, like, because of what they weren't going to see me until like a later date, and I was told that I was good when I did get diagnosed, otherwise I would need a surgery or probably potential things removed in my body and stuff. So it's good that I did get diagnosed when I did, because like you could it's not nice, like, but when you do get that, when stuff does happen for you, it's good. It's good that
Yeah.
it does happen.
Yeah, because as I was saying, like the quicker you can get like some sort of treatment and stuff like that, as you manage to get like certain like injections, medical prescriptions to help you with your Crohn's, I guess, was just happy to be able to quickly get to the, like knowing what it is causing pain and just try to minimize some of that pain.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like we have this kind of stigma of autism where people say you don't look like you're autistic. You get that in the same with Crohn's. Like, you get people say, "Oh, you don't look like you have Crohn's." And like we say, like, what you what you supposed to look like? So you still
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah, as like I discussed before, like from like person I recorded for the podcast we make, where I seen on social media, agony autism 17 of she was like saying about like we discussed like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and how like she was physically like presented as disabled with it at one point, because it can be quite flexible condition different at different times of where you need to use a wheelchair, and the fact that like at sometimes like you can get to a period where you're like able to move around, and like that experience of being like people not seeing you as like being disabled when yet you are disabled, and then that's it. As you say, that's the stigma comes from. If you can't, for people who can't see a disability, just kind of like find ways of invalidating what disability actually is.
Definitely, I definitely agree, because it's something that's like you need to talk. It's hard to talk about these things. Like I didn't properly speak about it, I guess, publicly, until 2020. So I had Crohn's a good 3 years. So I kept it to myself a little bit. Like when you talk about your autism, like you
Yeah.
diagnose, it takes a while for you to speak to other people about it. It was the same process with Crohn's. Like no one, it was different in ways because I knew no one in my school that has it. I was just me. It was more so like different groups. You go to maybe Costa Coffee or online groups. There's organisations and stuff. So where I found more people, especially on Instagram, that you can just type anything on the search bar and then you see more about it and more people. So I felt it was better. Like it got hard to start, but as soon as the years go on, you get better and you get better understand yourself of it and stuff.
Yeah, I guess as you're saying it, like there was not much presence of people you knew in real life, and like around you beyond social media that had the condition and as you're saying that, I guess it made you less comfortable in opening up and saying you have Crohn's and starting to talk about it. And I guess it took you a period of time to understand it yourself, and as you guess before you got diagnosed and started to have the pain, and as you're saying that you looked up stuff about it and surgeries and that, and I guess that was quite a difficult time for your mental health, and like got quite anxious about that, is it?
Yeah. It was very. I probably did cry a few times. I don't normally cry, but pain was not nice.
Yeah,
Like you don't expect anyone to have that kind of pain, really. Um, it's almost like you're slowly dying in ways, like, but you're not. But it's hard. Like, yeah, that does affect your mental health. I don't think I really spoke about my health before I was diagnosed. It wasn't really a thing I'd really talk about. But more so now, I guess. Like especially with the pandemic going on and that really affected things, especially when people get on and they do things themselves, and they like especially when I guess like I'm classed as a extremely clinically vulnerable person, so it's hard, like especially even still now because you go out. I guess that like my autism as well. I don't like going
yeah,
too close to people anyway, and like I feel like some people just don't have, I guess, respect for people, and they just go in people's faces. Like it could be for a good reason, but like for helping you, maybe in a shop or trying to first show you something, they
yeah.
go to your face and they show you it, but you don't need to go so close. Like you say to people, and it's like they'll get offended or they'll say they haven't got COVID and stuff like that. But that's not the point. The point is just don't do it in the first place.
Yeah, I guess with like when you got that diagnosis or when you started to notice you got pain and that something wasn't right, like as you said, with losing excessive amounts of weight that wasn't expected, and you was like I guess concerned about that, and that I guess made you like think over worry and made you quite super anxious about how this could affect your life, and what was going on, and I guess felt a bit clueless at that point. And then like when you were reading up about stuff, then I guess that caused me like anxiety, worry. Then and the pandemic, as you were saying, didn't help because like I guess with bigger immune system now, and you're finding people now thinking that the pandemic's over, and there's still a lot concern about stuff like COVID, and you still got your seasonal flu out at the moment, and I guess that's really changed things for you.
Definitely. Yeah, it's hard. I guess doing stuff like this, yeah, like when you speak to different people, very much helped during especially the lockdowns. Just talk to different people. Like in the pandemic and like when lockdown stopped. Like it's still good just to hear people's story now because
Yeah,
it's something I like to do in my spare time, but it's good. It helps a lot of people. Like people enjoy it when they come on and tell their stories because that some people have never been on Spotify before, so
yeah,
they like to see themselves in there. So it's good. It's good people like that.
yeah. It's as you're saying, it's like so rewarding, like so great to just get something back of it, because I guess sometimes when you like myself, when I look at the list and the numbers of this, and like look at the who's like listen to this, where like it's quite mad when you see like, oh well, it's quite strange even when you see that somebody in Australia or like somebody in USA could have listened to this episode or like your episodes, and then when you have like feedback from guests who come on, or and they actually hear much about the listeners themselves, but it's great to hear like from people who come on and like really enjoyed it and felt they got something out of the podcast interview, and I guess you found that rewarding yourself.
Yeah, it's been really fun. Like, do you like about a podcast? What do you think the hardest thing is about having a podcast? Do you think?
Well, I think the hardest thing is like there's a bit of anxiety off when you get around and making starting it all up yourself. But I think the hardest thing is like starting to find a routine with like editing, because like I find editing can be quite stressful, because like when you put in these episodes out again, I don't realize how perfectionist I got, because they start to edit out people's years, like certain phrases that in the podcast that you thought will like try to make it seem a bit like shorter and a bit better packaged out, so like the listener can listen to it without it being too long, and so much of like certain phrases that sound a bit repetitive. So like it starts certain things of like getting used to the editing, and when you're trying to work on ways like to either like promote it and like getting right editing software, like working out how to like get transcripts, technical issues. So all like because like when you started with this, I guess you realised how they can kind of putting out and can be quite expensive thing and to invest in, and it's not easy to like get like something out of it so far, and it takes a bit of time to work it out.
Yeah, definitely. And like with it, like with doing that kind of stuff, like when you edit an episode. Um, I tend to do it if it's necessary. I'm not one for. It's not my favorite thing about having a podcast doing, but
Yeah,
if it's necessary, I'll do it. But no, I don't need to do it all the time. If I think it's fine, I'll go with it and stuff. But if not, if there's bits that need to come out, I'll do it. And so sometimes I guess we'll say potentially, can you take something out? And then I'll see what I think. If like if some people don't like how they sound, we can adjust that. But yeah, I agree. That's probably one of the hardest things.
yeah. And as I said, like when you work, it's like working out what's like the best software to record on. And as I say, there's certain costs involved that, like we've starting a podcast. As I said, like I'm not exactly in any employment now, because like I tried to university and that didn't work for myself, got quite overwhelmed and burnout. And like there was so much changements. And like there's like, as I said, no costs in trying to work out ways of trying to get the transcripts, get the editing software sorted, get way of like finding ways of like promote this into like social media video clips, and work around any technical difficulties can be quite expensive thing to do, and like yet to like get something like financially back from it. So like start working on both of it, and so hopefully that less of these things will be an issue where by when I start to get more of this out in 2023 and grow the audience out by like 2023, plan on starting like a Patreon channel, so like put some of the videos out from the podcast and some extra content out for people to subscribe and like contribute to.
Yeah, that sounds good for you. Like
Yeah,
with next year, 2023, or it might be
yeah,
this year if you plan to release this episode on your podcast
yeah.
for next year.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I'll be going out. Yeah, I think I plan to get this out by next year, because try to do a weekly as gives you space to edit and like record interviews in between. So I find like I've got plenty of guests lined up for this podcast, because I got one guest called Rosemary Richards that's coming out to this week that we record, talking about dyspraxia. Lola Maria's, like, whose social media you might be seeing her, like, so we're talking about like autism, ADHD, bipolar, and like a TV show she's trying to work on producing. And I guess like as I said, Sarah Jean Harvey's coming on here, agony auti, and got Kev Sedler, who's never read person, who's got account. So I'm on a spectrum, her account is on Instagram. So got some stuff lined up. And yeah, working on trying to get plenty of guests and different ideas for different content and stuff like that.
Definitely, it sounds really good. Like with mine,
Yeah.
I think this year's been the most episodes I've done so far in a year. I've had the podcast. This year, I think I've done about over 200 episodes this year.
Oh, well, that's excellent.
Yeah, but next year I'm gonna start having a break. I always like to do a New Year's Day episode and a Christmas special episode each year now. That started last year, so I tend to do that. So after that, I'll have a little break in January, but then I might get back into it, like recording wise in February and stuff. Yeah, I will be taking a little break because I haven't really had that, except for I've been on holidays and that. Of course, I've had breaks then, which I won't do as many episodes next year, but I'll still be doing episodes now and there.
I suppose 200 episodes, that's quite a lot for you, with 52 weeks. I think I'll only try to like do like 1 week, or maybe like launch some bonus ones, like the extra week, maybe in a long term. As I said, it's trying to work on different ways of getting content out and that stuff. So I mean, like, how prolific you've been, that's quite a lot to do in many, and I guess you hopefully feel quite proud of that and how much you've managed to achieve.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. Like I think I remember I looked at the stats from 2021 and I only did 87 episodes in 2021.
Yeah.
So that's a big improvement, I guess.
Yeah.
From 2021 doing 87
Yeah.
to doing 100. Because when you get the Spotify Wrapped, it does all your podcast details and stuff. It does say it's 197 the other day, but by the time this year goes, it'll be more than that 197. It'll be probably 200 and 200 and something. But yeah, I think that's really cool. Like
that's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be that much. But I guess because I've done a few different series this year, it's cool.
And I guess like you manage to like get so many different guests on that, so it's quite amazing thing to do. And I guess you manage to chat to many people on different topics. And I like myself, I only started back doing recordings like in the end of October, and as I say, trying to like go for one like episode a week, like for the rest of the next year. And as I say, like I met like some ideas for content to put out next year. And like I guess you managed to grow quite good listening community here.
Definitely, like I very much enjoyed it this year. I am looking forward to what next year brings. Like I do enjoy having, like, I think the easiest part of the podcast is actually getting the guests. I would say that is the easiest part for me. It may be hard to sometimes schedule it and that, but I think the easiest part is to find them, especially if you use Instagram. Instagram's a very good tool for finding them, because like a lot of people in their profiles will say they're autistic or they have Crohn's in my case. So it's very, very good.
Yeah, because like that's how we started booking people with be Twitter, Instagram, and one time I was fortunately left that somebody journalist called Liddy Wilkins wrote a book out called The Autism Friendly Cookbook. Yeah, you may have heard of. She like emailed me and thought, oh, I'd love to come on your podcast. So I thought, oh, excellent, I'll get you on. So yeah, it's just saying it's like the most fun and enjoyable part of doing a podcast. It's getting those people on, getting those kind of questions, ideas planned, and then into production and start to do these recordings. Because like this chatting, us chatting to you right now, that's the most enjoyable bit about doing a podcast.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. Like it's nice just to have a conversation for a while, and yeah, I think it's really really fun.
Yeah, as I say, like I always find like they've done interviews, but like sometimes you need technology with so many different technical delays that's experienced doing this. And I would say it's a learning curve doing podcasts. And I guess you've like you've done so much. And you like have you found like got quite good feedback from your listeners? And you, like some things that you've surprised yourself of, like what people have sent to you about the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. I've like I think yeah. So there have been really good like feedback. Like I some more each episode's different, so some might get more episodes played or than others, but I don't tell the guests that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. Like people enjoy it. I think it's the main thing that they enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's like it's coming close to a wrap up, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is there anything else you had on the question list for myself that you wanted to ask?
Well, how I like to finish my podcasts normally, Aaron. Like I normally like to ask my guests, like if you have any maybe advice about potentially autism or maybe having a podcast. Like, would you have anything just to add?
Advice, I'll just try to think of that off the top of my head. Advice, I think it's trying to find that way of like finding and being comfortable in yourself for like who you are. I know it's quite hard and something working on. So like just remember that you're not alone and find that struggle of, being yourself. And it's okay if it takes a lot of time to find yourself, but once you found like how to be comfortable and just try to work on making yourself happy and making yourself feel safe and making sure you got the right support in place and that, alone and that. And as I try to do is try to make myself like kind of quite accessible to people on social media. I kind of like, I use so much the Twitter now. And so like if you're hitting me up, want to hit up for advice, you can like find me on Instagram and TikTok as well as Facebook at Neuro Rainbow Project. And then you can email Neurocast at aarowcreo.com. And you can also find Neuro Rainbow at that same at email thing. And as I was saying about advice doing a podcast, it's kind of finding your passion. And like, I guess, like it's something I'm still working on and like finding the right advice for that. So like it's like finding where you can start from, and it's kind of don't worry about getting the right start off. Just kind of find where you're starting and like working on it, and just try making it how you want it. So what like any advice you would give to like somebody starting out with a podcast yourself? Some
Um,
things that may help myself anyway.
yeah, yeah. Well, how if you're starting yourself a podcast, I think to bear in mind is first of all decide what you're going to use. Like how to set up is not very much. All you really need is a microphone and headphones. For me, I have my mic attached to my headphones because it's quite easy for me. I used to have a mic that was separated from it. I had a different headset at the time when I first started, but as it went on, I got myself a nice PC, a gaming PC and that, so it all worked nicely. But I would say get if you're starting yourself a podcast, I've like people actually, I have actually helped a few people. Like a few people that have come on my show have started their own podcast, so I love that when people do that. But yeah, so think of a name as well that's suitable for your podcast. and the logo. The logo of my podcast has changed quite a bit, but I do want to keep it the same for a while now. So yeah, like think of a good logo. You might not be able to create it yourself. You might want to reach out to me or Aaron or something if you want help with that. Because I'm sure we can help with that. But yeah, create a logo. Like get a logo made. Get a name, which very hard kind of thing maybe to start off with, and then decide how often you want to do it. Is it a thing you want to do once a week? Is it a thing you want to do twice a week? Is it a thing you just want to do once each month? Like if you have more free time, if you're not in work, you might want to do it more often. But if you are in work, you might just want to do it maybe once every few weeks or something.
Yeah.
But you can still do it. So yeah, and decide where you're going to record. So if you want to record, so some podcasts are in person. So potentially you might want to start your podcast like us doing it virtually, but if there's maybe a studio you could rent out or something like that, I've always wanted. I think that's a plan for the future. I'd always love to do an interview in person. I think it'd be good. But yeah, they're the main things just to think of, just to if you want to create a podcast. But yeah, it's great fun.
Yeah, and it's when I expand on that, as I say, like with us said, you can reach out to, or for us, as I said, you can reach out on the social platforms and the email address I said to. If you got any like interest in making a podcast, got an idea, not sure what to do with it, or want some support of promoting it, and want to chat to me on my podcast, or chat to me about if you're on a way of promoting it, or like any bunch of in production and like some assistance like that, I'm happy to help and support you in that way. And as you're saying, with in terms of podcast recording, I think try not to overthink it, in terms of like how often you want to get it out. Try not to walk too much. Try not to run before you can walk, as the saying goes. Don't try to over plan it, so like you end up too anxious about it. To start with like one episode of one or two ideas, and just go from there, and just try to build it naturally. Keep it quite naturally and organic, something that you could easily achieve and easily to do it. Try not to make it too hard of a mountain to climb. Otherwise you're not going to get, there. As I said, like take enough time out and self-care if you need, and just try to make sure you're happy doing it and you're comfortable doing it. And try not, if you're too anxious about doing it, pause the idea and take a time out, as I did myself. And so, as I say, like, if you don't worry about if you've not got the most expensive equipment, to get expensive microphone, so that kind of pokes me into trying to get the idea of doing a podcast again, but it's fun to do it properly, to engage with the guests, like as I've been doing now. And so, like, you can start by downloading an app like Riverside FM and stuff like that. Search up different apps like that. You can download to your iPhone or like Android device, and you can even start by recording through your iPhone's device, or like your smartphone, or like any iPad device if you haven't got the resources for expensive equipment. And as I say, if you're unsure where you're going with this and not sure how it's going to go, don't worry about buying expensive equipment. Just focus on getting an idea out there and just start on getting going and giving yourself the green light.
Yeah, and I completely agree, and it is good to do like have those things in mind. And like with me, I actually started when I started my podcast. I just started to do it on my phone, because I didn't have any equipment at the time. I thought, oh look, I can do it on my phone. There's an app where I can do it on my phone. And at the start, I was paying for this app, but now I do podcasts for free, except from the software I use to record. Everything else is free to do. But in the future, I would love to do some merchandise, which I said on a few different episodes that other people have their podcasts on and stuff. But yeah, merchandise, have my own top with my logo on would be lovely. Just showing that. But it's really cool. But anyone on listening on Aaron's podcast, if you want to find me, I'll just give you a few details.
That's
So
great.
you can find me my actual podcast on any of my music platforms. So Crohn's and an Autism Awareness Advocate is the name of my podcast. So you can listen to that. But if you would like to watch it, just go onto YouTube, which is Autistic Advocate for Crohn's, and that's the same on Instagram. And on Facebook, it's my journey with Crohn's disease and autism on there. Everything's on there. I do have a TikTok which is called Mace the Crohn's Warrior, but I don't really put much podcast content on there. It's just me being silly.
Yeah.
At the moment, talking a lot about the World Cup, but yeah. There are all the places where you can find me, but I've really enjoyed speaking with you, Aaron. And
yeah, enjoyed this. As I say, you know, like I went to highlight like those cost things because, you know, like I highlighted on the cost of living and disability and like resource of people can get. As I can say, there's ways you can start out without spending any cash now, as you were saying, that with like logos and stuff. And definitely like open myself to working with brands just to like advertise and see what expendable income I can get on this. And as like I'm not as active on TikTok, but I want to be in the future. So like over like the start of next year, we'll start to put some podcast highlights out and that, as well as some other podcasting ideas or like broadcasting ideas and that. And as you just said, I got you can find my podcast on all platforms, as well as you just said, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, any other podcasting platform, and just by searching Autistically Ours Neurocast, and that's where you find mine. So thanks you for coming on my podcast and yours.
yeah, it's been a really good podcast crossover, and yeah, well, to both of our podcasts, we hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this may happen again, who knows? Thanks you very much, and I'll stop recording.